he pulled off that big 1v5. Like, he is definitely a force to be reckoned with. As we're going to take a quick look at the rosters for these teams. First up, as mentioned, is Merrimac. That's AC1002 in the top lane, DaddyoftheGrave in the jungle, Jaycesph Stalin, the mid laner, CritterMiester in bot, and WonderlandZERO on support.
Yeah, same matchup, or same roster, sorry, they've always had. And their opponents on the red side are Craigslea High School, TheVlaxten up in the top place, Snell Pulse in the jungle, ZaHo in mid, pulungiiboi on AD carry, and Lemester in support.
Yeah, Craigslea, definitely a team that we've seen a lot on stream. Usually they do quite well, so super fun to watch this team in action. Very familiar, really, with both of these teams. So for us, you know, this is going to be a very easy cast. Like, we know everyone, right?
Yeah, exactly. These two familiar teams, two teams we've casted quite a bit. Very familiar with how they play the game and their play styles. So I'm very excited to get into the game and see exactly how well they do.
Yes, it is going to be a fun one for sure here at the Ekka. And for those of you who just happen to be walking by and hearing all that noise and commotion, what you are about to see is a game of League of Legends. And like every good game of League of Legends, we start with the picks and bans.
Yeah, of course. Both these sides got a lot of strong picks that both of them can take. The top laners for both sides, very strong. I think ZaHo is someone you need to look towards for Craigslea as well. I believe his Lux and his Xerath are two extremely strong picks. You see Hector banned away from Snell, sapnu Pulse in the jungle.
Yeah, I mean, definitely for Merrimac, their top laner is someone who they like to play around. When I look at Craigslea, I definitely look more towards their mid laner and actually their bot lane as well. I feel pulungiiboi has had a few standout performances in the past, so I'm excited to see both of these teams in action and where they're going to focus their bans at the moment. Seeing the jungle ban, Hecarim taken away, that makes a lot of sense. Kled being banned out from AC1002, also pretty smart. He is a devastating top laner, especially when he's given those duelers, so they're going to try and limit his champion pool as much as possible.
Yeah, and of course, Kled being one of the best top laners in the game at the moment. Kled, as that S-tier jungle, is so goddamn strong. The healing buff he got, or the anti-heal buff, sorry, he got on his Q, absolutely decimates anyone he comes up against. And then banning away a Darius, interesting banning from Merrimac.
Yeah, Darius, again, Darius is one of those weird champions that is only prevalent here in the Queensland meta,
yeah.
I find. Like, around the world, Darius isn't usually seen in competitive play, but here in Queensland, we love this champ.
Or even in the other states. None other states play him.
No, this is a Queensland champion.
It's literally Queensland only that play Darius.
Mordekaiser is also going to get banned away, so we're definitely not seeing a 6-night comp in this one.
Unfortunately, not. Darius taken off as well, so 4 nights is the maximum you can get. Unfortunately, but I mean, good to see these champions across the board. Though all 4 top lane bans being thrown. I mean, Hecarim is a flex pick, can go top, could go jungle. We know Tim, as much as he thinks he can play Hecarim, he really can't, right? But his favorite champion, another potentially top laner, Silas, here taking off the board.
Yeah, Silas will be taken away. Really a flex pick that's not going to be wanting to give it over to Craigslea. That tells me Merrimac don't feel necessarily comfortable playing the champion. I think Silas is one of those picks that you can use as a priority. However, it will be banned out, as will the Jace. So a lot of focus there on AC1002. Where will Merrimac throw their priority? Well, it's going to be down bot for WonderlandZERO, that Braum hover at the moment. I expect that to be locked in. A very strong support. Or no, surprise, it's a Gnar. I always fall for those. Always.
Interesting to see a blind Gnar locked in here into Craigslea. I mean, there are a lot of counter picks you can take into this Gnar. Sure, it's a strong champion, but there are just so many options to try and counter it in lane. You know, Yasuo or Aurelia are 2 of the most prevalent ones. You know, the stuff that can get on top of it. Nautilus, obviously a support pick, but, you know, can be flex top lane as well. Probably not one of those picks you'd see coming into the Gnar, but a very strong bot lane immediately locked in for pulungiiboi and Lemester.
Yeah, if you want to go for a blind lane, I think bot lane is typically the safest lane to pick line, and a Nautilus Caitlyn is one of the strongest at the moment. You have the kill pressure if that dredge line connects. Also, you can sit back and farm safely because Nautilus does provide a lot of crowd control and a lot of peel. Caitlyn, with that natural range, that natural zoning, it's going to be really tough to, like, essentially hone in and just take down this bot side.
Yeah, I mean, Caitlyn, you know, obviously one of the strongest laners in the game. Nautilus as well, a specialty from Lemester. And you see what Merrimac locked in. Obviously locked in Xayah already. They're one half of the Xayah Rakan duo, which I think is personally the strongest bot lane in the game. You see the other half looks like it should be locked in here. And we definitely, you know, one of the strongest bot lanes overall. I think can even take it towards this, a little bit of a pivot last second.
Oh,
Taric.
okay. I mean, that's a different kind of lovers duo in the bot lane, right?
Very different kind of lovers duo.
So Xayah and Taric are going to get locked in. Taric is always an interesting one for me because he is a very reactive support. Due to all of his abilities having a bit of a channeling time or a cooldown, you really need to be playing predictive. But Nautilus, yes, he's this strong, tanky CC master. Everything he throws down, though, is very telegraphed. And I actually do like the Taric matchup into the Nautilus as a result. However, Yasuo is still available. That will get knocked in. A bit of a flex pick. It can be taken either on that mid position by ZaHo, or we might be seeing Yasuo up top on the VlaxTen to sort of counter this Nautilus.
Yeah, I definitely expected to go top lane. Yasuo is one of the hardest counters to Gnar in the game. Able to just dash through the minions and get on top of him. Gnar really struggles to help self-peel with that hop down, and even then it's not a big enough range to get away from this Yasuo, so Yasuo is someone who can definitely chase him down and do a lot of damage to this Gnar early on if he can't deal with it properly. Rammus banned away though, good ban getting that off the table, one of the hardest counters to Yasuo. In fact, just anything that shuts you down, will stop you from moving around, dashing around, using your E efficiently is not great, and more top bans being thrown to TheVlaxten.
I still, whenever I see Yasuo and Ramesses, I harken back to our very first day casting together. It was a show match between the University of Queensland and QUT. Each of their, professional teams going at each other, and it was a best-of-3 series. It came down to that third game, and it came down to how hard Rammus counters Yasuo.
And the fact is, they looked at Yasuo, they had Malphite and Rammus,
yes,
and they drafted a full AD comp. So interesting drafting from Yuki. Obviously upgraded their coaching staff after that, but interesting to see how these teams go as we get further into this game, further into this draft, and see exactly how they're going to round out these comps.
And there is my favorite jungler locked in, J4 going over to Craigslea. Super fun to watch, and the flexibility, the versatility, fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, especially as well the synergy with the Yasuo here, getting him that knock up when he uses his flag and drag combination with the TheVlaxten as well. So it looks like they're setting up around ZaHo, all the TheVlaxten on this Yasuo, and they could obviously Malphite taken into the Yasuo here, so could potentially be flexing around maybe a Yasuo mid. No, Yasuo mid, a Malphite mid.
That would be very fun to watch.
I mean, the pick rate for it's gone up. It's got like a 54% win rate as well, so.
I mean, we're seeing the Rek'Sai locked in, so it's definitely not the Malphite jungle. That will definitely be run by Jaycesph, Stalin in the mid lane, and I'm curious, are we going to be seeing that hard AD Malphite, or are we going to be seeing, the AP Malphite?
Has to be AP Malphite.
I actually meant to say AP. I was going to say hard tank or hard AP, and you would think it would be that, but now here's the interesting situation. Because that Malphite is picked in response to the Yasuo, do we see Malphite top and possibly a Gnar being flexed mid onto Jaycesph?
I don't think Gnar in mid lane functions very well at all. I also know AC1002 is, obviously a prominent Gnar player, so I think that Gnar's definitely going to stand to the top side. Just means ZaHo gets his Akali in this mid lane. Obviously ZaHo, one of the key carries for Craigslea. We've seen him on the Lux and, these more traditional carries, but we know his Akali is lethal, one of his most played champions as well. So interesting to see how well, it's usually the Akali is one of the first champions banned against Craigslea, but now obviously on the other side of the game, ZaHo is actually able to get that champion, and into this matchup he's happy enough to take it and see exactly what he can do.
This is so interesting to me because, yes, you have that Malphite counter against the Yasuo and a pretty solid Yasuo comp, a couple knockups there through the Nautilus, through the J4, but you have your Malphite in mid lane in what I feel is actually almost a losing matchup against this Akali. So I feel as if for Jaycesph Stalin to really become that counter against the TheVlaxten, you're going to have to find some unique ways to get that matchup that you want. If you are a fan of Craigslea, I feel this draft actually went very heavy in your favor. The game is going to be yours to control, but should you lose control of it, it's definitely possible for Merrimac to punish and punish hard.
I mean, I think the only problem is with the AP Malphite is that you actually don't counter the Yasuo, because the reason why, obviously you're good against the Yasuo is because he can't actually kill you, right? Because you just stack armor and your passive helps you stack more and more and more. But, unfortunately, he hasn't been able to, properly use exactly what he's, trying to do. So, lacking the ability to take down the Yasuo, lacking the ability to deny the damage from the Yasuo with this AP Malphite. I mean, he'll definitely be losing a lot of strength, and also interesting to see the TheVlaxten's actually taking press the attack on the Yasuo, which I think is a little bit of a mistake.
Yep.
I think Conqueror or Fleet Footwork are your two options on that champion. Obviously, Conqueror is more for if you're actually winning the matchup, or if you can, get through. Conqueror is what you take normally, and then you take Fleet Footwork if you're in a really difficult lane. I think in this lane against the Gnar, Conqueror is 100% the option. Sure, you get poked out a little bit early until you get your E, but that's only a level 1, but you just sit back, farm safe with your Q, and then go in hard with your E and pretty much destroy the Gnar.
That said, as you can see, we are in the game right now. Merrimac on the blue side, Craigslea on the red side. So for those of you in the crowd, get loud. Make sure these players can hear you because the game is officially underway.
Yeah, just a very safe start out of both sides here. Sitting around waiting for potential invades here, making sure they're not going to lose anything, not lose too much, and not getting any wards placed down against them. One was placed in the dot brush though by Merrimac, so they will see a couple of the members sitting around, and CritterMiester here using the Q in the bush.
Yep, and you know, it is the stock standard line of scrimmage start. I'm a little disappointed actually that we're not seeing any sort of pressure more on the top side of the map as well, because again, being able to track the enemy jungler is vital in games like this, especially against a Rek'Sai or a J4 who has that ability to sort of gank level 2, level 3. You need to be aware where that jungler is when he might attack one of those lanes. So for the first 15 minutes or so of this game, the two players that we want to be focusing on are going to be DaddyoftheGrave as well as sapnu. These are our junglers. They're the ones who are going to be roaming sort of in between all three of these lanes that you can see in the lower minimap and trying to impact the game in that facet. Until then, they'll be hiding in each side's jungle, kind of waiting there for that right moment to ambush, all while farming creeps and building up their own economy, getting their own items. These are going to be, you know, our key play makers early in this one, and I'm really excited to see who actually steps up first.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I definitely think, you know, it's going to depend which team. I think Jarvan definitely has that agency early on, but Rek'Sai is one of those famous early game junglers. I just feel like the lanes are better for sapnu to actually gank, even though Jarvan clears a little bit lower and may have a little more difficulty as he's walking towards this bot side now. But I just think there's so much more gank setup on Craigsley's side than on Merrimac's.
Yeah, definitely there is, but one thing I want to point out about sapnu is he has opted for that aftershock. I'll hold on to that point though. Dreadline did connect, forcing the flash out of CritterMiester. Follow pass from sapnu though, he's so low, he has to walk away. The aftershock actually keeping him alive, which is really, you know, good timing, because I was going to bring up this aftershock. J4, you can take a few different abilities on him: Electrocute, Aftershock, or Conqueror. Conqueror kind of that middle ground, Aftershock if you want to play more tanky and do less damage, or Electrocute if you want to be damaged. ZaHo, meanwhile, actually getting jumped on by DaddyoftheGrave, is able to connect with that knock up. The Shroud will help keep him alive. Downbot, stuns connecting right there onto Lemster. Up top though, ZaHo actually is going down to DaddyoftheGrave, so first blood kind of off camera.
Yeah, first blood taken down. DaddyoftheGrave barely staying alive. ZaHo doing so well to try and take him down, but unfortunately could not do that. And the Akali falls first in the mid lane, which is good for this Malphite, especially out of mana as well. So needed that gank coming through from there, and that's really going to help him in this lane.
Yeah, and you know, it's a tale of two ganks really at the moment. So each jungler did make their presence known early, as we are expected. For one of them, a lot more successful than the other. In this instance, DaddyoftheGrave finding that early kill, whereas unfortunately for sapnu, not able to get much of anything. So an early advantage to Merrimac. And if you are a fan of this blue side, this is fantastic. Because of the nature of this early game, it means DaddyoftheGrave is going to be enabled to get more and more aggressive, be more and more deadly with these surprise attacks. And we're going to be calling his name, I feel like, more and more often in this one.
Yeah, I mean, and DaddyoftheGrave is, you know, on that Rek'Sai, who's one of those hard early game junglers, falls off later the game goes. Obviously needs to get his Black Cleaver completed as well, which is quite an expensive item. And good Rek'Sai, you see him start snowballing the game very quickly, getting these ganks in at level 3 and really start power farming through the game. And then as we get later, see him kind of fall off, get that more you know, attack damage or more support tankiest kind of build, or either the other way and go full lethality for fire enough ahead and just take the game over at 20 minutes.
Yeah, and for sapnu, I do believe this is very convenient for him. The fact that he's opted for the aftershock, it tells me he is going to be that tank. So he's not going to be that damage dealer. So it's not as important for him to have this early game impact. He's going to be more of a power farmer. He's going to be more impactful later in the game, where he'll be that tanky front line that will survive pretty much anything thrown at him. This is good for Craigslea because they're looking at pulungiiboi, they're looking at ZaHo, they're looking at TheVlaxten to really be the ones packing the punch in this one. So, yes, it's a rough start for the red side, but it's not panic time, at least not yet.
Well, I mean, they just got so much damage on this team. I feel like if J4 went more attack damage, I think it would just be overkill at this point. They just don't need that much damage, and they actually just need a good tanky front line. You know, sapnu's job is to go in, get the engage, get the knock up, and then after that he can just sit back and relax. So if he's not getting in and getting these evades, you see ZaHo again getting targeted by DaddyoftheGrave.
Yeah, I know. It's really interesting. Normally when you see that Shroud, ZaHo would be invisible, but because of DaddyoftheGrave's Trevor sense, actually is able to track that Akali within that Shroud and, you know, capitalize on it later as junglers walk into each other right now. DaddyoftheGrave definitely opting for that fight. ZaHo walked up to help, but got caught out by Jaycesph Stalin. A flash has to be used defensively, so two good plays right there for Merrimac.
This Malphite doing alright in the mid lane, obviously down a little bit of CS against ZaHo, but not actually falling behind in terms of kills.
pulungiiboi trying to get to CritterMiester. A very early flash from WonderlandZEro. Not happy in that position without mana, but I was expecting, you know, maybe a bit more front line. That's a huge take for Craigslea, and they might want more. it does mean CritterMiester, who's at low health, has to play very careful on the bot side of the map right now.
Yeah, very much so. LeMester here as well is quite low on this Nautilus, but one of the key, really strong supports we've seen throughout the series or throughout our casting adventures of the high school players. I mean, LeMester, I think you one of those. I feel like you've definitely leaned towards a lot of supports.
Yes.
You do really enjoy the support play, and you really appreciate what they do down there on the bot side. I'm a little bit more focused towards those
Vlaxten.
Vlaxten falling very low.
Yeah, Vlaxten just getting abused by AC right there. Has to be very careful. Ultimates are now available on the top side of the map as we are hitting level 6. That is when we're going to see those key abilities used, those game changers really. We saw last game what a Yasuo can do once hitting that point. Gnar, his ultimate, aptly named Gnar, also is just able to throw champions around, stunning them if they run into walls, doing an incredible amount of damage. And Vlaxten at that low health has to be very wary of it.
Yeah, very much. Watching him CS under tower. Missing most of his minions, unfortunately, for him there, but a little bit of engage in the mid lane. Jaycesph, Stalin taking a heavy trade into this Akali.
Yeah, so we're seeing level 6 hit as well in the mid lane. Jaycesph Stalin on the Malphite, that's another fun ultimate to watch. He's going to lunge toward his opponent and just, again, send them flying into the air. ZaHo has to be careful because an all-in out of this Malphite could be potentially lethal, especially with the Comet as well as Ignite available for him. Help from either jungler would almost certainly mean a kill in that situation. But if you're taking a look at that minimap in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see a couple red dots right there. That means that Craigslea has placed some vision wards, so they would be able to spot out any sort of movement should DaddyoftheGrave move towards that mid lane.
Yeah, very much so. And DaddyoftheGrave focusing around this mid lane very heavily. Could see him potentially going back there once again. Sapnu passed to level 5 though. I think once his Jarvan hits level 6, you're going to see him do a lot more and play a lot more aggressively in this game. Also down in the bot lane, just waiting for those ultimates to come through. I'm really excited when we get to the team fight phase. I think that's going to be the biggest change of difference. Craigslea, of course, having a really strong team fight comp around this Yasuo, and have to wait and see. I think Sapnu Pulse needs to spend a little bit more time coming towards his top side, right? They picked the Yasuo in the counter matchup, but they haven't been supporting it. If they're putting resources into this Yasuo, into this matchup, he's obviously going to start snowballing and winning it harder and harder. And I think with 1 or 2 ganks could definitely change the matchup into where Yasuo is up in CS and Yasuo is forcing these solo kills. Unfortunately, he went for the Zeal first instead of the attack speed boots, which actually give you more attack speed, so able to reset that Q faster. So maybe a little bit of a mistake there from the TheVlaxten. Obviously, Yasuo not usually taking the top side, so a little bit different, but still has teleport available, so he's going to get back and change that up.
That was a good little bit of chain CC right there, thrown down onto pulungiiboi. You saw the snare come through CritterMiester, followed by that stun from WonderlandZEro. Fortunately, though, for Craigslea, he was able to jump back at the nick of time. Once again, AC just bullying the TheVlaxten at the moment. Top lane is a huge point of contention right now for Merrimac and Craigslea. Like, I feel as if Gnar and Yasuo are the 2 champions who could take over this game, and I do agree. I want to see more resources put up there. However, it's mid lane where attention is being thrown. ZaHo in a bit of a 2v1 situation. There was the ultimate from the Malphite, and that will secure the kill.
Yeah, unfortunately, ZaHo couldn't get part 2 of that ultimate off if he was able to. He could have definitely taken one of them down, but DaddyoftheGrave, right place, right time, takes down that kill. And again, more fighting across the map.
Yeah, more fighting up top as well. Vlaxten losing out in a trade in that top lane. Again, he's going to try and push them back. Meanwhile, down below, bot stun does not hit, and here comes the counter engage. Ultimate's being used, so that bot lane from Merrimac is invulnerable at the moment. Unfortunately, the Featherstorm doesn't quite connect where CritterMiester wants it. Is able to get the root on the lens star. That will force the flash out of him. pulungiiboi looking to re-engage, can't find an opening, and in the end, no one will fall.
Yeah, Xayah is so strong right now, just doing so much damage. See it coming down. Both of them carries are taking a lot of damage here from CritterMiester. Once a lethal tempo is proc, she does so much damage. And one of the biggest benefits about Xayah as well, her W gives her so much attack speed that she doesn't actually need to build any of those Zeal items. So she can go those 2 big crit items she really likes, the Infinity Edge and, of course, the Essence Reaver as well. So a lot of AD, just bulk damage coming through early from the Xayah. One of those champions who really spikes in the mid game.
Yeah, definitely is the case. As we're seeing, Gnar has gone mega, is trying to find that opening to possibly take down TheVlaxten, who is quite low health at the moment. This Yasuo needs to be very careful. You had both junglers semi in the area, but neither of them really close enough if a snap decision is made. Down below, that's a big snare and a very low health pulungiiboi. He has to jump backwards, try and kite away, staying safe. Really, a lot of treacherous situations right now for Craigslea.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of interesting situations across the map. I think AC1002 is doing a good job handling the Yasuo on the top side. I think DaddyoftheGrave needs to be playing, you know, a little bit more aggressively. He's kind of falling a little bit behind because he's not willing to play aggressively. And also, the Ninja Tabby on the Gnar means the Yasuo is going to be doing a lot less damage than what he could be.
That was a good little gank appearance, I suppose, by sapnu pass right there, forcing that flash out of Jaycesph Stalin, who is now being jumped on by ZaHo. This could be a potential kill. The ultimate is used defensively, but ZaHo's running under, trying to follow up. DaddyoftheGrave with a clutch save actually takes down Akali. Up top, finally, we see that solo kill as AC takes down TheVlaxten, and all of a sudden, puas, who tried to make the heroic save of his own, is getting run down. Yes, he has flash. Yes, he has cataclysm, but it is not enough to save his life. AC in a 2-for-1 gets both.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge there for Merrimac, and that's pretty much put Craigslea out of the game. And, you know, Merrimac here with this lead they've just accrued, especially since they've got counter matchups across the board, that they can definitely close out this game now. And I think that's a huge mistake from Craigslea overall, and could be dire.
Yeah, I mean, we're still early in this one, so I don't want to say they can, you know, completely win it just off of that. Only 12 minutes into these games that generally last between 25 and 30 minutes. We're only looking at a 3.5k goal differential, but Merrimac are in complete control. I will agree with you there. They're starting to chip down these towers, accruing a larger and larger gold lead advantage. They should have already gotten their first Ocean Drake. They might be getting a second one soon, not to mention the fact that, you know, Rift Herald is on the map. They have control of the top side. That's another critical objective that will most likely go the blue side's way.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Merrimac going to start snowballing this game out of control. Jaycesph Stalin now with the Ludens completed means he'll now have mana to stand in that mid lane and can start putting up a fight against this Akali. I mean, Akali's still, like, nuking him, but unfortunately hasn't got any kills yet. Hasn't started to snowball 0-3 overall because she's just been getting hard camped by DaddyoftheGrave.
Yeah, it's been a very tough game for this Akali. Merrimac obviously recognizing that ZaHo on this champion is something that they're going to need to put pressure on and shut down. And being an item down at this stage does mean that for ZaHo to become more relevant in this game, it's going to be even longer until Craigslea can look for those fights. Into a Taric as well, it's even like harder, I feel like, for the Akali just based on the champion matchup because he wants to get onto the backline and take down CritterMiester. But to do that, you have to go through WonderlandZERO. As up top, DaddyoftheGrave again, kind of taking an aggressive trade. Yes, he has minions in his favor, but he might not want it. Down below as well, teams are once again running into each other. A huge ultimate from Jaycesph Stalin connects with 3, and the follow-up invulnerability coming from WonderlandZERO means Merrimac should run through this fight. Pulungiiboi had to flash defensively as the rest of his team is getting cut down. ZaHo falling. Pulungiiboi in a bad situation will fall as well. Jaycesph Stalin coming from up above, helping secure yet another kill, and really, Craigslea in a bad place. 4 members down, they will lose their mid tower.
Yeah, this is a lot of damage coming down. The plates will fall halfway through this as well, so that's more damage and more tower going over to the opposite side. Maybe LeMester can try to defend, but I think honestly it's just a little bit too futile, and he might actually end up going down. I think this is the advantage you see across the map. Craigslea getting leads across the board, and I'd most likely attribute that to actually DaddyoftheGrave here on this Rek'Sai, who's been applying pressure all across the map, and I have to criticize sapnu paus a little bit. He's picked this Jarvan and really hasn't done anything besides that little gank in the bot side.
Yeah, it's been a rough game for Craigslea so far. Rift Herald will also be taken by Merrimac, so that will provide additional map pressure when they decide to deploy it in whichever lane they do. Furthermore, like, this is why Merrimac was one of our finalist teams. Like, this is the team that, you know, finished second place in a statewide tournament that consisted of over 42 teams. So definitely they are one of the best teams in Queensland, and so far they are showing us why. It's been complete control nearly from start to finish. Great roaming and play from DaddyoftheGrave. They understand their team composition, they understand where to strike and how to play it, and unfortunately for Craigslea, they just seem a bit lost almost.
Yeah, they do. They just not seem like they're executing these, you know, players correctly. You know, I think it's just. I mean, as I said, I mostly have to attribute to the jungler. sapnu paus has not been putting any pressure down on these maps, and his lane's been falling behind further and further. He really needs to make sure he's getting in, helping support his laners, and making sure they're doing their work to kind of, you know, stay in this game, because Merrimac is going to keep snowballing out of control.
Oh, that was a interesting flash right there from CritterMiester. The dredge line actually was not going to hit, but does not matter. Leinster has to be happy with that. Something going their way. DaddyoftheGrave in trouble, is Gnarred into that wall and will go down. Another solo kill on the top side of the match. sapnu paus arriving a little too late, but DaddyoftheGrave has followed him, so a bad situation for this J4. He's going to have to find out how to get out of this one alive.
Yeah, 4-0 on this Gnar. He's a very scary boy, very strong. And ZaHo in this mid lane, who picked this Akali to kind of take over the game and win this matchup, he's just not doing
he's not doing very well. Even though the ultimate did miss from Jaycesph Stalin, it will be a solo kill going the Malphite's way. Up top, this is that 2v1. Cataclysm going down. Snapu, he recognizes he's not getting out of that, so he a little bit of style as he falls. 12-0 now, though, in favor of Merrimac, and this is that snowball you were talking about.
This could be a perfect game here as well from Merrimac. The first one we've seen on stage, and probably the first one in the high school championship. I don't think we've had a single perfect game yet. So something new coming out. Obviously, it's still early on, still only 15 minutes into the game. But if you don't know what a perfect game is, it's when you literally give over nothing to the enemy team. As in no kills, no towers, no dragons, no barons, no nothing. Even no plates. I don't think they got a couple of plates in the bot side. So maybe it's not like a, what do you define as a perfect game, right? And as a plate ruining a perfect game, potentially, right? But definitely a very good game played by Merrimac.
Yeah, Merrimac, they are in position to really take this one completely over, as we see AC is sort of waiting to purchase an item in the fountain. Remembering last time, I mean, when I think back to this high school league and I think of outstanding plays and moments, my mind is always going to go to AC 1002 and that Darius 1v5 play. It started in a similar fashion to this, where he was just dominating lane. However, he was on a Darius that game instead of a Gnar. He was actually into a Gnar, funnily enough, as Merrimac is looking to secure this Mountain Drake. I'm waiting for that sort of outplay in this one. Does AC have another one on the big stage as opposed to over online?
I think that was a different play. That was the top laner for... which college was it? Not. It was the one that played against Merrimac in the semifinal.
Are you sure? I'm pretty sure it was AC.
No, it wasn't AC. It was the...
Oh, yes, yeah.
It was versus Taric, right?
Yes, yeah, you're right. My apologies. I'm getting my players confused.
So two players we know very well, right? Two teams we've played a lot with, but yeah, no, hard to confuse them. I think AC 1002 is a very talented player, though. So
he definitely is. Oh, that is a big turnaround, though. A clutch Taric actually keeping DaddyoftheGrave alive somehow, and in the backside, CritterMiester just running through Craigslea, has the triple and is looking for the quadrant. ZaHo flashing defensively over the wall, will escape for now, but that looks so good for Craigslea, but Merrimac just able to turn it around.
Yeah, this game is looking undeniably in the favor of Merrimac. A fantastic Gnar ultimate, knocking 4 members into that wall, getting the stun. Huge damage coming out of AC 002. And that Xayah picking up a triple kill on CritterMiester. ZaHo staying alive barely in the backline, but an inhibitor down at 18 minutes, 16 kills to 0, 15k gold in the favor of Merrimac. I'd say this game's over.
Yeah, this is looking disastrous, as with that Rift Herald there, really Merrimac could keep pushing should they so choose to. But as you watch the Rift Herald smash into that Nexus tower, it will fall, and with that Merrimac actually are opting to back away, at least at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Craigslea just need to reset, get, 1 member pushing top, 2 members pushing the mid lane. 4 members pushing in mid lane, just try to break up Craigslea, or just set all 5 members down, wait for next time your Gnar ultimate's up or Mega Gnar's up and look for another fight. Or, I mean, if they're going to go for this engage, it could potentially be the end of it.
Oh, this could be it. DaddyoftheGrave was looking for it. You had CritterMiester as well as Jaycesph waiting on the flanks. However, no one of Craigslea is willing to step up and allow themselves to get caught out. That said, considering the map positioning at the moment, Craigslea is in a bit of a 3v5 situation. Pulungiiboi as well as sapnu trying to react as fast as possible, help out that mid lane before the tower falls. Unfortunately for Craigslea, they will arrive a bit too late. Mid tower falls, and once again, that is now 2 openings into their base.
Yeah, again, not into their base. They've still got the inhibitor tower to go, but they will look to try and take that down next. I mean, the Merrimac are just so strong. The champions are just so much stronger than everything that Craigslea selected here, and I feel like it's just one of those things that, Craigslea had to win more comp, right? The Caitlyn had to get ahead in lane. The Yasuo was in a winning lane matchup. Like Akali as well as one of those champions who falls off, an assassin, right? If he doesn't have his item, he's not ahead. He's not doing anything. So, unfortunately for them, I just think the Stomp is not necessarily, the difference in skill. I think it's just the difference in the champions they've selected, right? Merrimac's comp is very much spikes in the mid game. Is very strong laning as well. I mean, look at the Xayah, look at AP Malphite, most AP champions spike in that mid game. One of those kind of off-meta picks. And, as the game gets later, the AP Malphite becomes worse and worse. So, it's still, not over, right? Craigslea, if they get to late game, if they get this Yasuo to 3 or 4 items, they could maybe turn it around, but I just don't see them getting to that point because Merrimac are just so far ahead and are playing so clinically, especially around this Baron that's now up. I just see no real world where Craigslea can make it that far.
Yeah, Baron is up. top lane, mid lane, and bot lane are pushing. In fact, super minions are actually doing some work on the Nexus towers as we speak, so that's going to force out a lot of recalls from the Craigslea side. And really, Merrimac, in response, should be looking towards that Baron. They have a bit of a window to go for it. However, the team, yep, you're seeing the pings come down. They know what to do. It is Baron time with Craigslea playing defense against the natural minions on the map. It means Merrimac should be able to get this one for free.
Yeah, and I feel like even if Craigslea set up a contest, they just lose the team. But DaddyoftheGrave here on the Rek'Sai is so strong. And we see the two main carries down on the bot side, but they are still looking for a contest here.
Yeah, they actually did wind up losing one of those Nexus towers from the super minions as well. So a bit of a macro disaster right there for Craigslea, losing those vital Nexus towers, those last line of defense getting taken away without Merrimac even being there.
Yeah, and that's pretty much just the nature of just how strong Merrimac are. And, you know, this early into the game, champions don't really have the damage to take down those 2,000 health minions.
DaddyoftheGrave gets hooked by the hook at the moment, but it doesn't matter. He connects with the stun, and Cataclysm hits 4 members, but all that means is an ultimate and being unstoppable is Merrimac. They're running straight through the middle of Craigslea. A huge double kill for Jaycesph Stalin as he takes down that backline. It's only TheVlaxten who survives, and with 4 members down, a teleport going into the base, Merrimac is looking to end.
Yeah, and this should be the game being wrapped up quite quickly here by Merrimac. 20-0, a perfect game from them, you could say. TheVlaxten here barely trying to stay alive and just try and help defend this base, but he will fall down to DaddyoftheGrave. And Merrimac take out this game in emphatic fashion.
Yes, our first perfect game, not only on stage, but on stream as well. There is a reason why this team is a finalist. They are that strong. Give it up for Merrimac.
What an insane, that was just such a quick game. 21 minutes done and over, and I feel like it's hard to say which player was the best because when a team wins that hard, there's not much you can do.
Well, I'm going to lean towards the jungler. DaddyoftheGrave, I think
agree.
It was really, as we mentioned at the very start of this, the junglers are going to control that early tempo.
Yeah.
And Merrimac took that early tempo and ran away with it. So definitely when I'm looking at this one, I'm looking at that Rek'Sai, I'm looking at DaddyoftheGrave. He was impactful in all 3 lanes. His opponent's sapnu pass was always playing reactively, and unfortunately, he was never there in time. So when I'm naming an MVP, it's going to be Daddy for me.
But on the Craigslea side, who is their ace? I feel like their best player, I mean, it's hard to name one on Craigslea because they just got kind of rolled so hard that you kind of go like, do you give it to TheVlaxten for like losing the least? Or do you give it to like someone like ZaHo who just like hard camped and like couldn't really do anything but still, you know, went for those close engages and could have definitely tried to turn the game around. But, you know, when your side gets no kills, gets no nothing, it's very difficult to really decide who does what and who's where.
Yeah, I think if we're going to pick a, star performer